One of my earliest memories from Palm Sunday when I was growing up as a kid was that the church I attended had a tradition of gathering all of us in the fellowship hall, usually on the Saturday afternoon before, where we would be greeted by a gigantic pile of long, spiny palm fronds sitting on one of the tables. And they would have all the kids and youth sit at the other tables and pass around several of these palm fronds to each person, and someone, usually the minister or the adult volunteer who had drawn the short straw that year, would show us how to fold the palm fronds into the small little crosses that they would give to people as they entered the church for the processional at one of the Palm Sunday services. Inevitably, as you were folding the palms, some of them would break in half, or they would get tangled up into something that resembled more of a giant knot than a cross shape, but these would normally get thrown away in the trash, and we would just pick up another frond from our pile and start again. This would go on for several hours, usually with us chatting and joking back and forth to each other, and at least two people stopping to have a sword fight with each other with two of the palms, until the pile of palm fronds had been turned into a nice, neat, uniform stack of crosses. And while you were encouraged to hold on to your palm cross and display it somewhere where you could see it in your daily life, I always clipped mine to the visor of my car. Most people would place theirs in a basket at the back of the sanctuary after the service. Those discarded palm crosses, the ones that we had spent an entire afternoon folding, would end up getting thrown into a fire, and the resulting ashes would be saved for Ash Wednesday the next year. I took for granted the fact that there would always be a giant pile of palm fronds that would show up every year in the fellowship hall. It was not until later on that I began to stop and think, where exactly did that pile of palm fronds come from? I grew up in both Oklahoma and Texas, and I can tell you that in neither state do palm trees grow natively. It never crossed my mind that these palm fronds had come from somewhere else, likely from somewhere overseas, and what people had to go through in order to collect so many palm fronds to make up the giant pile in the fellowship hall. Aside from the palm fronds that we used to make the crosses, palm trees are used to make hydrogenated palm oil, a product that is now used today in everything from soap to shampoo to lotion to various other food items. You can go up to most vending machines, purchase any type of Little Debbie or Hostess snack cake or cookies, and if you turn the package over, you will find that palm oil is one of the first ingredients listed. Palm oil has become so lucrative that many countries around the world, especially ones that are trying to develop their economies, are planting large groves of palm trees for the purposes of harvesting palm oil and exporting it worldwide. In 2016, there was a docuseries called Years of Living Dangerously that took famous Hollywood stars alongside environmental activists to various places around the world to illustrate the effects of climate change. In one particular episode, actor Harrison Ford was taken on a flyover of a large corporate palm grove in Indonesia that was used to produce and export palm oil, and was shown how copious amounts of old growth forests had been slashed and burned to make way for these palm groves, causing untold amounts of deforestation and displacing countless numbers of threatened and critically endangered species in the process. I sometimes wonder, since Palm Sunday is traditionally celebrated by Christians and others as the triumphant arrival of Jesus into Jerusalem and the beginning of the Easter season, that if Jesus were to arrive in the present day, what kind of world would they be coming into? What would they have to say about the world and the environmental state that it is currently in? The 19th chapter of the Gospel of Luke in the Christian scriptures, which is traditionally one of the texts that is read at Palm Sunday services, talks about how Jesus openly wept while stopping to look over the city. While most biblical scholars say this is because Jesus was foretelling the crucifixion that was to come and the destruction of the Second Temple, I wonder if the tears of Jesus today would be because of the state of the world, because of climate change and environmental degradation. The idea of explicitly stating a commitment to maintaining stewardship of the environment as people of faith was not one that was included when the Unitarian and Universalist churches merged in 1961. Although the newly formed denomination passed many social justice statements regarding the environment and environmental justice throughout the 1960s, it was not until the principles were revised in 1985 that the seventh principle as we know it today, respect for the interdependent web of existence of which we are all a part, was included in the list of principles that we affirm. Even after its adoption, its focus was not one that featured very highly in the lives of many congregations. It was for this reason that in 1989 a task force was formed to discuss ways about how to make the seventh principle more of a central focus to members, congregations, and the greater UUA as a whole. This resulted in the development of the Seventh Principle Project and the Green Sanctuary Handbook in 1991, which provided ideas for religious celebrations, educational opportunities, and ideas for community action to demonstrate ways to live out our commitment to respecting the interdependent web of existence of which we are all a part. In 2002, a program was added to allow congregations to become certified as green sanctuaries, displaying their commitment to living more in harmony with and respecting the environment. The church that I currently serve, First Unitarian Church of Albuquerque, was the first congregation in New Mexico and one of the first congregations in the country to become certified as a green sanctuary later that same year. Since 2005, when the Seventh Principle Project became the UU Ministry for the Earth that it is today, it has supported a long series of social justice statements and actions of immediate witness at General Assembly, and supports several programs that address solutions to a wide variety of environmental issues like climate change, ecosystem conservation and restoration, food justice, and sustainability. In addition, the UU Ministry for the Earth, or UUMFE for short, also does a large amount of what it calls frontline solidarity by centering the needs and voices and leadership of those who are most disproportionately affected by environmental degradation and climate change, including indigenous and low-income peoples, people of color, island nations, and youth. In addition to those social justice groups within the UUA, many congregations across the country are also part of and partner with interfaith organizations that are working collaboratively for environmental justice and climate change. One of the most well-known of these kinds of groups is Interfaith Power and Light, which was started in 1998 by a coalition of Episcopal churches in California committed to purchasing renewable energy. The project quickly broadened its focus and expanded to include members of other faith traditions to become California Power and Light in 2000, and the organization's model has expanded to include similar chapters in 40 states. I could spend an entire sermon just listing off various environmental justice groups and the work that they do, but I keep going back to the image of Jesus weeping while standing above the city of Jerusalem. In the grand scheme of things for us as UUs, Easter is a cultural holiday that is observed every year, and the story of Jesus may not have the meaning for some of us anymore that it once did, or ever did for that matter. But the themes that come with the observance of Easter, new life, flourishing, and hope, are ones that I still think about this time of year. Specifically, the concept of new life is one which I keep coming back. The question that I always ask is, how is life that comes after Easter any different? What about life has changed with the arrival of Easter? Has anything changed? It is that same concern that I hear from Jane Maudlin in the reading for today. What effect do my words and deeds have on the environment and the human world? We will not always know the ramification of our deeds, but they are there, if not for us in the present, then for the generations that are to come later. Will this beautiful natural world that I enjoy, and which was such a comfort to me during times of isolation in pandemic, be still there in 10 or 20 years? Will the same birds and animals be there to bring me joy as I watch them go about living their lives? And if all of it is still there, will it look the same? This is one of those annoyingly frustrating sermons where I do not have an answer to give you about how we solve the problem of climate change. As much as I may be able to offer hope that things will look the same, the reality is I cannot promise that. None of us can promise that. Yet what I can tell you is that, just like the pile of palms that I never gave a second thought to on Palm Sunday, I am beginning to think differently about the environment and the part that I play in it. I cannot single-handedly turn the clock back on climate change, as much as I would like to, but I am starting to think about the ways that I can try to leave the environment in the best conceivable way for those that are to come. On Palm Sunday this year, and as we move closer to Easter, perhaps we can take a moment, as a spiritual practice, to try and do the same. May it ever continue to be so. Blessed be. Amen. Shalom. Assalamu alaikum. Namaste. Thank you all so much.